Mr.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have anything else for me tonight?
No. Nobody? Harm is next, yeah. Thanks, Ellen.
Okay, clerk, if you please read the prepared announcement and call the roll.
August 13, 2019. Please be advised this meeting is being taped for audio and video broadcast. The meeting will also be closed captioned. It's important that everyone speak clearly into the microphones and only one person speak at a time. Assisted listening devices are available. Mr. Burnett.
Present.
Mr. Porcello.
Here.
Mr. Hostin.
Present.
Mr. Sachinelli. Ms. Smith. Here. Ms. Melendez.
Present.
Mr. Ioannidis.
Present.
Mr. Dumas.
Present.
Ms. Young.
Here.
Mr. Heides. Ms. Siegelbaum.
Here.
Mr. Hempstead.
Here.
Mr. Cyrenaides.
Here.
Mr. Igneri.
Here.
Mr. Livingston. 12 present. You have a quorum.
12 present, we have a quorum. The first item on the agenda, acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 23rd, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Moved by Mr. Igneri. Do we have any corrections, deletions, additions, omissions? Seeing no hands, I'll ask for approval. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Burnett abstains. 11 in favor, 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda is public participation. No one has signed up to speak to the council. Is there anybody that wishes to address the council at this time?
We'll take it.
Seeing no one, I will close public participation. Resignations and appointments. First appointment is Mr. Brian Brown to the Bike Walk Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Igneri moves. Any discussion?
Just looking at his resume, I think he will be great to develop a marketing plan for the Bike Walk Commission.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Next, we have several reappointments. First, to the Fair Rent Commission. We're going to move them as a block, I understand. We have regulars, John Church, Fran Collier Clemens, Patricia Gennario, Manny Langella, Johnny May Weldon, and as regular members, and Dora Witherspoon as an alternate. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Ms. Young moves.
I'd like to move the reappointment of all of the members that you mentioned. And I've actually had the pleasure of working with them in my capacity with Human Relations and Fair Rent. And I must say that they are very committed to the commission and the work of the commission, and I think it's a great thing to have them all reappointed, and glad that they're all willing to be reappointed to the commission. So I'd like to move them all forward.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Again, congratulations. I know a few of you are here tonight. Next is the reappointment of the Human Relations Commission, and the Fair Housing Advisory Commission. We have Carol Franks for the Human Relations Commission, Daisy Franklin for the Human Relations Commission, Thomas Mahoney for the Human Relations Commission, and Jalen Seed for Fair Housing Advisory Commission. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I think that's separate, Jalen.
Oh, you want to separate the Fair Housing?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's recap that. We have Carol Frank, Daisy Franklin, and Thomas Mahoney for the Human Relations Commission. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make that motion, Mayor.
Mr. Hostin.
I actually had the pleasure of serving on the Human Relations Commission with these three individuals. I think they all embody exactly what the Human Relations Commission is all about, which is making sure that Norwalk offers a fair, safe, and welcoming place to live for everybody, regardless of gender, sex, sexuality, orientation, etc. And I am very proud that they will continue to be on the HRC moving forward.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations again. And now Mr. Jalen Seed for the Fair Housing Advisory Commission. Mr. Igneri.
I will move Jalen's seat. I've known him for the past few years, and I know he will do an excellent job. He's hardworking and industrious.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Jalen. And last but not least, we have two reappointments to the Facilities Construction Commission. Mr. Brian Kirshner, Mr. Stan Rebson. Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Burnett.
Yes, both Brian and Stan both have extensive construction management experience. They're strong communicators, and they're very valuable contributors to the present commission. So reappointing them will continue to bring value to the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Any further discussion? Mr.
I
Host.
just want to add that I'm, again, lucky to have Brian as one of my neighbors in the Village Creek District. And I know that beyond being very professional and knowledgeable about construction, he is very community-oriented and has the best of Norwalk at his heart. So I think he'll be a great continuation on this commission.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations to Brian Kirshner and Stan Remsen. If we have anybody in amongst us who has been reappointed or appointed, if you will come down, the clerk will administer your oath of office.
Manny is here.
Come on
So
down.
Daisy Franklin, Bill Witherspoon, Johnny A. Weldon. Hi, Daisy. So who do you want to do first?
Brian?
This is your appointment. Brian, if you'll step forward. Mr. Brown.
Please raise your right hand. You, Brian Brown, having been appointed as a member of the Bike Walk Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, upon the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Sign both copies and leave one with us.
Now, how many do we have for regulations and how many for fair rent? Jalen is not here, right?
Nope.
Okay. We have Johnny Bay. Here we go. And we're going to do you in a group. We have Dora and John Church. Some of you I know and some I don't. So, all right. And Manny. Okay. I have to sign Manny's and Daisy's. Okay. I'm going to say, okay. Separately.
You have Johnny May, Manny Langella, John Church for the Fair Rent Commission, and Dora.
Dora, got it, okay. If you all raise your right hand. And when I say you, you just say your name. You, having been reappointed as a member of the Fair Rent Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, or upon the pains and penalties of perjury. Okay, congratulations. Great. Who's this? Right? And there. And John. And I need to sign yours, Mandy. We need a lot.
Let him borrow some pens here. We're a little short of pens. The budget's a little tight this year.
Don't give
Give us one and you keep one.
Okay, Manny. There we go. Who else? Did I do the coming up?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
This yours, John?
Congratulations.
This yours.
Yes.
What's your
Daisy?
I expect you to work your ass off.
You, Daisy Franklin, having been reappointed as a member of the Human Relations Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, upon the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Let me give you a pen. Sign the two.
Cute. Okay, that takes care of the appointments and reappointments under mayor's remarks. Very good remarks tonight.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Tomorrow night continues the summer concert series down at the beach. Thank you to First County Bank for sponsoring and helping us with the concert. If you haven't been to any of the concerts at the beach, I would recommend highly that you take advantage of the next couple of weeks and see. It's always a great time. We have as many as 1,000 people coming down to the beach, listening to some wonderful music and enjoying a good evening under the sun down at beautiful Calf Pasture Beach, which is one of the premier parks in not only Connecticut, but certainly all of New England. Also, this coming Friday night, September 16th, wow, I'm really jumping ahead. August 16th and August 17th, New Paradigm Theater is doing a production of Bye Bye Birdie, which is going to benefit the American Legion here in the city of Norwalk. The American Legion is an organization that is kind of a social organization for veterans who come home, who can join the American Legion and get guidance as to where they might find some support services, gives them some socialization. It's a wonderful organization, and the proceeds from Bye Bye Birdie on the 16th and 17th will directly benefit them. So it's at the New Paradigm Theater. If you can get online and look up the New Paradigm Theater, you'll be able to find out all the details. Tickets are $50 for VIP, $35 for adults, $30 for seniors, $12 for 12 and under. And if you enter the discount code C-VET, you'll get a discount. So come on out and support the American Legion. I'm sure they'll really, really appreciate it. Now, I must say I'm at a little bit of a loss right now because we don't have the council president and the council majority leader. You're acting as council president tonight? Mr. Igneri, the floor is yours.
Thank you. There is no general council business to discuss. I will turn the consent calendar over to Ms. Smith.
Well, that was easy.
I read the lines that Tom left me.
Item 6A1 under Corporation Council, discussion and authorization for Resolution 7 Forest Hill LLC versus City of Norwalk Zoning Board of Appeals, executive session. Item 7A1 under Health, Welfare, and Public Safety, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to sign for and accept the Youth Service Bureau Grant Award from the State of Connecticut Department of Children and Families for the fiscal years 2020 to 2021. The allocated amount was, for the 2020 year, is $54,847. Item 7A4A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Connecticut Department of Emergency Service and Public Protection for the shared use of the Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. Item 7A4B, authorize the police chief, Thomas Kulhalwick, to execute any and all agreements, documents, or amendments as may be necessary to implement the memorandum of understanding related to the Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. Item 7B1, under Public Works, discussion and possible action on release of the city's interests, including a general release in the 80-plus square foot sidewalk easement and right-of-way over the parcel located at 64 South Main Street, tax lot 2-58-22-0. Item 7B2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a third amendment to the August 28th, 2007, did we determine the correct date on that, 2007?
I think we
Leave it
decided,
at 7.
Okay.
we decided to keep it that way unless.
Agreement for the professional engineering services between the City of Norwalk and A. DeCesar Associates, P.C. regarding the East Avenue reconstruction project for an amount not to exceed $70,000 in accordance with the attached scope of services dated July 31st, 2019, accounts noted. Item 7B3, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for C.N. Wood, Connecticut LLC for the purchase of one 2019 Rapid View pipe inspection vehicle for a sum not to exceed $368,410, account noted. Item 7B4, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order for Gabrielli Truck Sales of Milford for the purchase of one 2020 Mack GU 713 plow truck for a sum not to exceed $231,864, account noted. Item 7B5, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to C.N. Wood of Connecticut LLC for the purchase of one Mack GU 713 rear refuse loader not to exceed $237,611, account noted. Item 7C1, under Land Use and Building Management. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Ward Science for the Next Generation Science Standards non-consumable materials in an amount not to exceed $339,248, which includes a 10% contingency. Accounts noted. Item 7C2A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with New England Energy Controls, Inc. for the Belton Main Library Building Energy Management System installation project for a total not to exceed $118,423. Funds available from account noted. Item 7C2B, authorize, did I miss that? 2A. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with New England Energy Controls, Inc. for the Belton Main Library Building Energy Management System installation project for a total not to exceed $118,423. Funds available and account noted. Item 7C2B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $11,842. Item 7D1 under Finance. Accept and approve the report of the Claims Committee dated August 8th, 2019. Item 7D2, for informational purposes only, narrative on tax collections dated August 8th, 2019. Item 7D3, for informational purposes only, monthly tax collectors report dated July 2019. Item 7D4A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with First Response Health and Wellness, LLC, to provide the injury prevention program for the Norwalk Fire Department for 5 years at a cost of $187,500, with the potential for a 5-year extension at a cost of $193,125. Account noted. And item 7D4B, authorize the establishment of a contingency for additional services as may be required for setup and testing year 1 and year 6 to establish baseline and progress of participants and generating statistics not to exceed $25,000 for the initial 5-year program and $35,000 for the second 5-year program. There we go. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Does anyone have any questions, any changes to make to the consent calendar as read? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? It looks unanimous, Mr. Mayor, and I turn the council back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Igneri. Next item on the agenda are the 2 items that are off consent, items 7A2 and 3. Mr. Serenides, I believe, is going to
Yes, I'm going to move that, Mr. Mayor.
move that. And any discussion?
I'll read them first, and then we'll go to discussion. Under item 7A2, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the police department to MHQ Inc. under the Connecticut contract number 12PSX0194 for the purchase of 12 2020 Ford Utility Interceptors, all-wheel drive, for the amount not to exceed $407,000. Account noted. And number 3, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the police department to low bidder Fleet Auto Supply LLC for the purchase and installation of emergency equipment and fit up on 12 Ford Utility Interceptors under project number 37868, not to exceed $183,000. Accounts noted.
Mr. Serenides has moved the item. Do we have discussion?
I have a question.
Mr. Corsello?
The Interceptors, these are SUVs,
Yes.
so instead,
We have the representative of the police department here if you
Great.
wished. Deputy Chief and the Union President, Lieutenant David O'Connor.
He's also in charge of the fleet.
He's also in charge of the fleet.
Yes, so they're sport utility vehicles, yes.
So, Mr. Corsello?
are these in lieu of police cruisers, or,
So they no longer make the Crown Vics. So yeah, we've gone to all SUVs.
so it's all SUVs?
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
They no longer make the vehicle that we used to purchase.
You can't buy a police cruiser anymore?
No.
Okay.
Not a Crown Vic.
And obviously-
So the other options are smaller and they don't work. We've looked at other options, but there's no viable option.
Okay, and we need these vehicles.
What's that?
And we need these vehicles.
Yes, we need new vehicles.
Okay, no problem with adding to the fleet vehicles that are needed. I note that the color is black.
Yes, sir.
And everyone knows that black vehicles are the least safe because they don't stand out with the background of roadway and scenery. We don't want our officers in harm's way or to have our vehicles in greater danger. In addition, I've gotten a lot of input from constituents because they do see black vehicles around, and they find that they present somewhat of a menacing image. There's some real concern about the color, and additionally, because it is the least vehicle color, our idea here is to have a police presence when it's there, to have it be known to the public, and why not have the most visible color? White, light blue, one of those colors. Why are we going with black?
So we spent a considerable amount of time last year looking at different options when we went to the all black, because when we had black and white and they just weren't holding up. The white really wasn't holding up. We can no longer get it from the manufacturer two-tone. So we were wrapping the vehicles, and those white wraps were not holding up, and they were looking dingy and dirty and yellowed and just not professional very quickly, is one of the reasons we went to the single color. And we used the gold lettering to stand out so that it is very visible that we're a police car, and also you have the light bar on top, so and a push bar on the front that makes it much more identifiable as a police vehicle.
You're saying the base of the vehicle is black and the white was just a wrap?
In recent years, yes.
Isn't it available where the base would be white and then you could wrap it in whatever?
But any wrap is not going to hold up.
Okay, but why not go with a base white?
Again, we had spent some time trying to look at different options, different decaling, to see what would look professional and what would have the best appeal. And that is what we came up with.
Was it considered,
We spent a considerable amount of time, yes. White in the past, it's difficult to keep clean and looking professional. So yes, we did look at the white at the time.
you found it to be more difficult to keep clean than a black vehicle?
It dings more, yes. It really does. It just, the white was not holding up.
Did you consider the fact that white is well-known to have greater visibility than black vehicles?
I can't say that I specifically looked at the visibility of of those two colors side by side, but yeah, I think that with the gold decal, that makes the black more visible.
Deputy Chief, would you also mention the fact that it's practiced during the darkest hours to ride with the light bars lit?
Yes, and when we are trying to make sure that we have a high visibility presence in an area, they'll be running with the cruise lights where you have lights on that are very distinguishable as a police car in the appropriate situation.
The studies actually show that during the day, a white vehicle is much safer than a black vehicle. I wasn't just speaking to it.
No, I wasn't familiar with that study.
Further discussion? Mr. Hempstead.
Just one quick. The lettering on the cars, because I know some of the police vehicles that are black have some lettering that you don't know.
So we do have a few subdued, and 2 of these vehicles will be subdued because they're meant to be canine cars, and those officers take those vehicles home because they're transporting the dog back and forth to work.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of them will be subdued because they'll be parked in the officers' driveways.
Okay, those are the ones you can barely see. You have to get a certain
They're
angle.
reflective.
Yeah, okay.
It's reflective, so yes, those are less visible.
Ms. Smith.
How many cars have you replaced with SUV to this date?
How many SUVs?
Come to the mic.
I couldn't give you an exact number. I believe we have about 25 SUVs going back to 2014.
And right now, about 10 are all black.
Mr. Ioannidis?
I brought up this in committee, and Mr. Corsello touched on a lot of this stuff. Do we have any options about seeing maybe other colors? Because I definitely agree that we're in a position where I think we should be making our vehicles a little more easier for people to see rather than more difficult. I just don't really know what the process would be to
look at an entire new color scheme and decaling would take a tremendous amount of time. We took a lot of time and did quite a few samples before we decided on what we have right now. So it would be quite time consuming, and so for this fleet, it would be difficult. It would delay our new vehicles substantially.
How many more vehicles do you plan on replacing in the next few years?
We're hoping to replace 10 a year.
Please speak more into the mic so they...
We're, 10 a year is what we're looking at right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burnett?
Yes, is there the possibility of adding additional lighting that could be utilized during the daytime hours to the the black vehicles that might help make them more visible with that additional lighting without incurring any major additional costs?
Well, the lighting is extremely expensive, so the more lighting that we add to the vehicles, the more costs we're adding. And even when we were wrapping the vehicles, the wraps were costing us more money.
Further discussion? Mr. Holston?
It just sounds like a common theme that we're talking about is the visibility of our police presence in Norwalk. So could you talk sort of more in general about what is the approach to visible policing in Norwalk?
So when the purpose is to make sure the officers are seen, they're putting on the cruise lights, so the overhead lights, they've got additional lighting up there, so it is extremely clear that they're police officers, and they'll patrol the areas, and I don't think there's any doubt of who they are. And we're doing other things as well in terms of we're doing more traffic enforcement in recent months, and very scheduled, and I think a lot of the public has mentioned how they've seen us out there doing more enforcement, and I don't think I have not heard of issues where people can't see us when needed. And people are noticing us out there and more actively enforcing.
And we are getting the new community policing van any day now?
Right now, it's looking like October for somehow there's been a very long delay with the base van, so right now we're at last check, it was scheduled to get delivered in October and then would get upfit. I'm not quite sure why they only manufacture it at certain times, and we were given incorrect information. Expected it in August, and it still has not yet been built.
Further discussion? Ms. Young?
So what's the total number of the fleet?
The total number of the fleet is about 125 cars altogether, but there are a significant number of cars that are not frontline police cars. There are some extra work cars. There's a significant number of cars that are administrative vehicles, and a relatively small number of that fleet is frontline police cars.
So you're not looking to replace all of those, the fleet you just...
No, right now, we're sort of doing a little catch-up, to be quite honest with you. We have cars that have exceeded their operational life. They're cars that are not driven like your family car. They're driven hard miles. They run constantly. They run in all kinds of weather. And when they're running, sometimes they're exposed to driving fast, stopping fast. And it really beats them up. It takes a lot of their life away. So we're looking to replace, to add to the fleet, to supplement what's there now, and play catch-up so we can get our patrol fleet back to where it should be and get some of those cars that they're using now as primary cars to the secondary line.
And that number is, did you say?
What number?
Did you say how many?
Total number?
Just the fleet that you're...
The total number of fleet's about 125 cars.
But those are not all.
Not all.
Correct.
Further discussion? Mr. Corsello?
If these 12 cars were to be ordered now and they were to be black, you indicated you want to replace 10 a year. Would the department be open to using an alternative color or looking into using an alternative color going forward? Or would it be, look, we've already gotten, over 20?
We could absolutely look into it.
That decision rests with the police commission. This body just approves the purchase of the vehicles.
Okay.
Further discussion? Mr. Ioannidis?
So then if this body wanted cars that weren't black, they would have to vote no to give them cars until they were presented with a different color?
I think that you'd be stepping outside the boundary of the authority. You're here to approve whether you want to get new police cars or not. The money's been allocated. And the police cars, need to be ordered. So it's up to this body to approve the purchase of the vehicles. You don't usually get involved in the lettering and what the vehicles say and the kinds of lights that are going to be put on them. Generally, that rests with the police department to make a recommendation to the police commission.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sirenides.
I also want to add that these cars should be replaced because it's coming down to the safety of the police officers driving them. The cars that are going to be stepped down and these brought in are going to be the frontline cars, they're going to be the patrol cars. You want them to have the safest vehicle because they're the ones out there driving constantly. We're talking about concerns with accidents and the car not being visible. We also got to consider the mechanical factors involved of a car that's been driven past its safe life expectancy.
Yeah,
So
just
this does come down to a safety issue.
Excuse me, Mr. Corsello, are you finished, Mr. Corsello?
Just to be clear, it's my understanding that lighter color cars are safer cars for those driving them. And that was one of my concerns.
Understood.
Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the motion. All in favor? Opposed? So it's 3 opposed, 9 in favor, motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Igneri?
Motion
Well,
to adjourn. One more. Isn't there one more item? Oh, I thought there was it.
Not that I know of.
Nothing more.
Where's the third? Yeah.
Those were 2.
Well, we did in two, in
Did it
three.
together?
No, you're right. We did motion number 2,
Now
and
there's-
motion number
I thought he
3.
moved them both together.
Move them both together.
Did you?
He moved them both together.
Oh, 2 and 3 rather.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to suggest to our council president when he returns from Maine that we consider canceling the next council meeting if there's nothing urgent on the agenda. So that's in the cards coming forward.
Yes, under city code, we have to have the first meeting of the month, which is the second Tuesday. The fourth meeting of the month is optional, and frequently during the summertime, we cancel the second meeting in August, and sometimes the second meeting in July. So stay tuned, we'll make that announcement. If there's nothing time-sensitive on the agenda for the August meeting 2 weeks from tonight, we will very likely cancel that meeting.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Hempstead makes a motion to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned.